And I'm going to hit record. Here we go. Recorder's on. Anytime you're ready, go for it.
This is Jeff Giles from LangleyPowell.com, and you are listening to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, reminding you to floss 5 times on each side of every tooth, twice a day.
Wow, you said it. So mundane,
It was
so
good.
awesome. Thank you.
It was mundane, but that's fitting.
That's
today,
right. There you go. All right. Thank you so much. Let me hit stop. I'll be right back.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom Vroom Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Fiorella Yriberry. I think I got that right. Thank you so much for being on Vroom Vroom Veer and welcome to the show. How's it going?
All good. Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here today.
So you are a content creator, content marketing specialist. What a great job title at RVshare.com. So talk a little bit about what you're most excited about basically in your life, because you're in a cool spot right now, living the dream, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I get to have a really cool job that pairs with my life. So yeah, I'm a content marketing specialist for RVshare. If you don't know RVshare, it is a peer-to-peer RV rental marketplace where you can rent RVs all over the US from RV owners. And I myself happen to live in a self-converted RV full-time.
Right.
So it's a cool mix of getting to share my lifestyle and get people to try it and see why I like it so much, I guess.
Yeah, I love it because sometimes maybe you want to take a break from being in the RV.
Yeah.
I get that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody, but the RV lifestyle is really fun and gets you outdoors in a very unique way.
Right.
And it's a very cool way to travel. It's like a different way to travel, and you can do it. If you're renting, you could just do it for a weekend. You can do it for a week. You don't have to do it full time like I do, but it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's different. I think if you want to try it and embrace it for as long as you do it, right? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. And then you'll know whether or not you like it or not.
Exactly. Yeah. We kind of jumped into it, and I wish we would have rented before so we had a little bit more experience with this lifestyle.
Yeah.
But yes, it's definitely what you make it.
I did that like way back when. I don't even remember. Some around 2005. I just decided to buy an RV.
Oh, okay. That's exciting.
It was fun. But then after I did that, I figured out that my wife really doesn't like camping like at all.
That's a common thing. You usually have to convince one of the partners. And so renting is a good way to do it before you jump right in. Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, I definitely +1 the idea of renting first.
I love that. What kind of RV did you have?
We had it was like a 30-foot something. Yeah, I think it was a 30-foot like Class B Itasca cruiser.
Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty common one.
Yeah. It was gigantic and huge. And I mean, once you park it, it was great. Right.
Yeah. That's the big thing in the world of RVing. It's that you go into it thinking you need all these amenities and all the space.
Right.
But then once you're on the road, you're kind of like second guessing all of that. You're like, I actually didn't need all this stuff. But then, you park it and they're nice to have. So that's a cool thing about renting. You get to like experience different models and see what actually works for you and what you like and stuff like that.
Yeah. We can talk more about that. But I think if I were to do that again, I would definitely want to get something that my wife is comfortable driving to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
That's a big one.
She's definitely not going to drive that big bus, right?
Yeah.
Never, ever. Not even straight on a highway, No,
I relate to that feeling. So yes, that's a very important.
And the other thing you said was like, you don't really need that rolling house Like,
Yeah, I guess it
like,
depends just how you're going to travel, right? So you
yeah,
can kind of prioritize your amenities
yeah.
accordingly.
Some
But I
people
think
might want that, but not everybody.
exactly.
Right, right,
Yeah, and I think all of us when you start the idea of it, you kind of want all the things you have in your house to just
totally.
be there too. But
Right,
with a little bit of experience, you realize, the bathroom maybe doesn't have to be that big or you don't need that
right,
much like lounge space and you're able
right,
to
right.
compromise
Totally.
from there.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, camping is all about being outside anyway. To
Exactly.
me,
Yeah.
right? So I
Yeah.
think of like the living room as like that's like outside.
Yeah. I love that. That's very true.
Anyway, but that's we can get into it as we go. So let's
I
figure
love it.
out like how Fiorella like got here. So did you grow up in Bolivia?
I did, yeah. I was
Okay.
born and raised in Bolivia.
Wow.
My
Okay.
whole family's still there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was 18, after graduating high school, I decided to come to the US for college. So I
Nice.
came, yeah. So it was a really good time. I did 4 years in Ohio.
Wow.
And yeah.
You couldn't get more different than from Bolivia to Ohio. Wow.
I know it was a change. And,
Right.
growing up consuming a lot of American media, my mom grew up in the States for a few years. So I grew
Okay.
up with both languages and all that. Getting to Ohio was a culture shock. I was like, this is
Totally.
not the US I've seen in movies,
That's the
I don't
Midwest.
remember all these
That's
cornfields.
I grew up in Michigan, so like we're
Oh,
like your
okay.
big college rival, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you know.
Yes.
But yeah, so that was a transition. But even while studying in Ohio, I did studied abroad 2 times. So I grew up in a family that really valued travel as an experience. So we
That's
didn't do the
awesome.
big birthdays or big Christmas, but we did big family trips. And
Nice.
those are some of my favorite memories. And ever since I can remember, I've kind of incorporated that into my life. So
Right.
making travel a priority. So I traveled, studied abroad twice while in college, met my husband and in college, and then we backpacked Europe and we were really into
Wow.
this traveling bug. And
Yeah.
once we graduated college, we were kind of falling into that traditional lifestyle, get the apartment, climbing the corporate ladder, and starting to see how like we were traveling less and less, but we wanted to travel more and more. So we
Yeah.
kind of had that, okay,
That's
how do we
awesome
make
though.
it
You
happen?
got lucky because you had
Yes.
already sort of like sown the seeds already before
Yes.
you got sucked into that magnet of get a job, get a house.
Yeah. Yeah. I always was kind of like, I graduated college and I went into the hospitality industry. So I worked
Okay.
in hotels.
Nice.
So
Nice.
still within that travel
Sure.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
world,
Right.
So I
Good
was
for
like,
you
okay, this
though.
is a
That's
good
nice.
way. Yeah, so that was exciting, but still, you kind of start building that life. So a few years after college, we kind of looked around. We're like, okay, we're going down this path of, the next thing is going to be house, family, all these things. Like, do
Right.
we really want to do that, or what are our options? And
Sure.
when we started kind of seeing what our options were out there, we kind of realized of the world of RVing and realized that that could have been a possibility for us.
Right.
And we just kind of jumped right in. We wanted to convert an RV ourselves because we wanted a little bit more of control of how the space was laid out and like the
Wow.
things that it had, a little bit more personalization. So
That's
we
an
bought our
adventure.
bus. It was. It's an adventure. It was an adventure on top of another adventure. But
Right.
yeah, it was really exciting.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
bought our bus in 2017 and it took 2 years to convert. And we
Wow.
were just converting it, over the weekends, like
Yeah.
after work.
Right, right, right.
And yeah, we set off the beginning of 2020 and we've been on the road for 4 years now. So full time just
Holy
traveling
cow.
the country.
Wow. That's got to
Yeah.
be so are you still in that original or have you like moved on from the first one?
We have moved on from the first one. So we
Okay.
did 2 years or a year and a half in the bus. And now we have an old search and rescue fire truck. So
wow.
it's like a combination of like an ambulance and a fire truck. So we went smaller,
Yeah.
mostly that and then more of like a capable vehicle. So that's something like, again, like I mentioned before, if we would have rented RVs before and had a little bit more experience,
Sure.
we would have realized we didn't need that much space. So the bus was very big, very long,
Yeah.
and it was uncomfortable,
It
like you
costs like a
mentioned.
lot of money to put gas in a bus. That
Yeah,
was like
and then
like my RV, it was like got like nine miles per gallon if you're
Mhm.
lucky.
yeah.
A bus is probably similar, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the length and like you said, like I didn't drive that at all. I was like, I want nothing to do with
It
like
is
driving
really hard to
this. And
drive. Yeah.
yeah, so it was it was good for us for the time we had it, but there's definitely all these things that we were like, if we would have rented an RV, because we had no RVing experience. So
Sure. You
in
dove
Bolivia,
in.
RVs are not really a thing, and my
Right.
husband didn't grow up in like an RV or camping family, so we went
Right.
into it completely blinded.
Got it.
And yeah, we were just learning as we went, I guess. So
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
in our second rig.
Gotcha. See, I grew up camping. My whole family,
Cool.
yeah, they started out in tents. And then
Okay.
as the family grew, right, it went from like tent to pop up to like just a bunch of different tow style, campers.
That's cool. Like that's now
Yeah.
become like my legacy to my family. So now I have my parents come on camp with us,
Yeah.
and now my sister and nephews and stuff like that. So it's become a really cool tradition to do as like a family.
See, I'm kind of cool when when I'm camping. I'm okay with just being in a tent, depending.
Yeah.
Even like, strangely enough, I actually did tent camping in really cold weather, and that
Okay.
was actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't like the snow version.
Yeah.
So I think I got a sleeping bag that was rated for 30 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
like Fahrenheit. And
Yeah.
I was toasty enough, but I didn't want to get out of the tent.
It definitely limits what you can do. I mean, it's
Yeah.
definitely doable, but
You
it definitely
can.
limits what
Do
you can
really
do or
want
like
to,
your
right?
comfort.
How comfortable do you want to be?
Yeah.
Right. Anyway.
Yeah.
So okay. So that's neat. So like you've gotten now downsized. Okay. So
Yeah.
And you can drive this new rig.
Yeah, so we have an actual like cab area. So we even have a co-pilot seat. So we didn't
Oh,
have
nice.
that in the bus.
Okay.
And that was like, important for us too, just to have like that area of like driving. So I can drive this one. It's a lot easier to maneuver everywhere and
Right.
yeah, more of a capable rig for us off-road too, which is like a big thing we were looking for.
Yeah, like if you want to go shopping or like you need a vehicle to go do errands,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, then like the big bus and like we avoided cities like the plague, like because it was a nightmare to go in there and have to
Yes.
take 7 parking spots in any parking lot.
Yeah.
It was just
And it's
it
really hard
was-
to get gas.
Yes.
Unless you're like on a truck stop or something.
yeah,
Right.
all the stuff, all the like daily things that we needed to do were just so much more complicated in that vehicle
Yeah,
for us. So
totally.
we were looking to kind of like ease a little bit of those things.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So did you end up like now I'm just getting nerdy on you, right?
I love it.
So do you have like some sort of solar system on that rig?
Yeah, so we're fully
Okay.
off grid.
wow.
So we're self-contained. Yeah, so part of the vehicle that we create, like the second vehicle, particularly the one
Right.
we're in, we wanted it to be as capable as possible to be able to dry camp or like boondock. So
Right.
be able to park by
You
ourselves,
don't
not
need
in a
hookups.
campground.
Right.
Yeah. So we have an entire solar system. We are fully off grid with terms of power, and then we have a composting toilet, so we don't have like a
Nice.
big like black
Yeah.
tank.
Right.
We have 75 gallons of water with us, and yeah, everything can carry us about 18 days off road.
So you don't have
pretty good.
any sort of like black or gray water tank. All of your water. Well, you must have some sort of tank.
We have the gray
water
water
tank.
for the sink, for like
Right,
the kitchen sink
Right,
and the
right.
shower, but we don't
Right.
have the black tank. So
Gotcha.
that's it makes it a little bit easier.
No cousin Eddie sort of situations.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you like? I'm super curious about the composting toilet.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Oh, we love it. We had one
Okay.
in the bus as well.
Okay.
And so
It just takes a
this
little
is
getting used to once you learn how to use it.
Yeah, it does. It takes a little bit of getting used to it and, adjusting to it, but it's a really great system, especially if you
Right.
want to have a vehicle that's like off grid and self-sustained because we don't have to really do any, emptying of tanks. Like we do it once a month. So it
Oh, wow.
really like lasts you more than like the classic black tank in an
Yeah,
RV.
because a flush just takes
yeah.
so much water.
Yeah, and then you're not using the water, so it's like, it works out really nicely.
Yeah. So what do you do with the compost? I'm just curious.
With the compost,
you
depends where
composting?
we are.
Okay.
Depends where we are. There's different like procedures. So there's some states
can
like
just throw it
California
away,
that
right?
have certain facilities that you can specifically take it to,
Okay.
which is like we prioritize that if possible, but not
Sure.
all states have that.
Right.
So if we don't have that, then there's like these special trash bags that we can use to like dispose
Just
of
throw
it.
it away. Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. I kind of want one of those in my house. So like
Oh.
I can go my house off grid. but that's
Yeah.
probably not going to happen. So did you buy one of those pre-made composting toilets?
Yeah, so we have like a Nature's Head, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
like
yeah.
a
Right.
company that makes them. So
Yeah.
it's really nice. In the bus we had like a DIY version of one, and it
Yeah.
worked great, but we went a little fancy for the second build
Sure.
and bought the nice
No,
one.
I think like why not? I think,
Yeah,
because like it may be like you can get, I think some of them do like solid liquid separation automatically.
correct. Yeah, all of
Yeah.
them. Mhm.
Right. Okay. See, so that's what you need.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's a little bit trickier to do that DIY mode. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you can buy kits, and that's what we did in the bus. Like, so it's kind of like you assemble it yourself, but
Okay. This
then
one's
there's
the
like the ones that are
pre-made.
already kind of like a
Right.
whole unit. So
Yeah. You
that's what
just
we have now.
install it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
hmm
That's great.
Yeah,
So
they're really cool.
talk a little bit about what life is like when you're out there on the road. Because I saw in one of your blog posts that you got like your internet from Skylink, right?
Yeah, Starlink. Yeah.
Starlink. My bad.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
How
Starlink.
much do you love that? Because now you can podcast.
It's
technically,
revolutionized.
You are
Like,
at work right now while you're doing this
yeah,
podcast.
and I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
great.
no, Starlink has revolutionized like the world, the nomad world, especially for digital nomads. So when
Right.
we started, we got on the road, like I mentioned, early 2020. And at that time, I think Starlink maybe had come out, but it was in its very early stages. So we didn't had it for the first like year and a half.
Right.
So we were just using like hotspots from our phone. So we were limited to like locations that
junk.
had service
Yeah.
and stuff like that to be
Right.
able to have internet.
And when you're dry camping, you don't have like if you're in the boonies.
Yeah, it's very rare
Forget
that you
it.
have internet. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So we were very limited on like where we could go if we had to work and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I didn't start working full time, like remotely for RVshare until 2 years ago. But
Right.
that was right around the time where Starlink became a little bit more popular. And Starlink is a satellite internet provider. So
Yeah.
it's a little satellite and you just hook it up and it finds its satellite and it provides incredible internet. So
Right.
ever since that, and it matched
amazing.
perfectly for me going full time on a job. And it's incredible. I mean, we've been in beaches in the middle of nowhere, just no service and just me on Zoom calls, like working. And it's
Yeah.
incredible.
But
Yeah, it makes it
your
sustainable
internet
for
is
us.
better than most people's home internet.
Yeah, I mean, I've had meetings. I've been in meetings before where people are having like internet issues, and I'm like in the beach, and my internet is like completely like working.
And you're
So
just
it's
like
very exciting.
you kind of like can flex a little like
Yeah, I'm like, look at where I am.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's awesome.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about all the different places you've been and some of the not so fun stuff about the RV life, like breakdowns and things like that. I know
Yeah.
you work through them, right? It's
Absolutely.
but it's not like all sunshine and roses. Right?
No, not at all.
No, it's just
Couldn't
like
be farther
regular
from the
life,
truth.
right?
Yeah, it's honestly like a very extreme lifestyle in the sense that you kind of have like both sides. So you have these incredible moments and experiences
Yeah.
that make it look, beautiful. And then you have this very low like moments of like breakdowns and these unexpected things that are very hard to like, deal with.
Yeah.
So you're kind of living in these two extremes at all times. And it makes it worth it for us. And as long as that balance keeps balancing out, like we'll keep
Right.
doing it. But
Right,
it's definitely not for everybody because, the lows are pretty low. The highs are high and they kind of get you through, but the lows can be pretty low. I mean, we've been a little bit everywhere. We mostly spent our time in like the west area of the
Sure.
United States, just
Okay.
because there's more public lands where we can camp.
Right.
So we'll kind of go up for the summer and spend our summers in like Montana, Wyoming, Washington area.
Nice.
And then we'll come down in the winter and do, Arizona, Southern California, New Mexico, that kind of area.
Come to Vegas. There's some good
Yeah.
dry camping in Vegas.
There is
Yeah.
really good one. We were just passed through Vegas actually. So
I'm
yeah,
in
we
Vegas.
like,
I think there's a lot of BLM land around here, but there's a big
Yeah.
spot in Pahrump where a lot of
Okay.
one of the guys that wrote the book. There's a book about I can't remember the name of the book, but he does his winters in Pahrump.
okay.
Right.
I feel like we just passed that. We were just outside of Valley of Fire. So
Okay.
we spent
Oh,
some
nice.
time around there and it was really, really pretty.
Nice spot.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we kind of move around with the weather, and that's kind of how we move it through the U.S.
Right.
In the winter last year, we did go to Baja California, so that's the peninsula underneath
Ooh,
California in
nice.
Mexico.
Nice.
So yeah, that's a really cool spot for the winter just because it's very beautiful down there and there's like a lot of really great camping.
Yeah.
So that was a really fun experience. That was the first time we did that. But we were having these highs while there, like watching whales from like the RV, just like right outside of our
Oh, wow.
campsite
Yeah.
and like just incredible wildlife and just incredible spots. But then like one of the times, we're driving this pretty remote beach, like 2 hours away from any city, and we had part of our suspension just completely collapse on us, just like breaks as we're doing a
Oh,
turn
no.
on a one lane like road. So that was a quick low, a very
Yeah.
stressful low. It took
Wow.
us like 3 hours to move out of the road like 10 feet so we could get kind of out of it. Was a one lane,
Yeah.
so we have
Yeah.
a
Yeah. A
five, six
lineup of
cars
cars.
behind
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
in front of us. So we're just
Wow.
like,
Panic.
and our suspension is broken. So it's also not, you can just like drive, like the whole back part of the rig is like moving and not attached. So a
Wow.
lot of things could have gone even
Horribly
more
wrong.
wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Well, thankfully it was a
the-
busy road.
Thankfully, it wasn't that. Yeah, it was a Sunday, so there was more traffic around there. A lot of
Right.
people, just out. But everybody was really understanding, thankfully, and everybody was trying to help and see how they could do.
Somebody
But
called the tow
it's
truck
still,
or something.
yeah, so we were actually able to like pull off to the side and just between friends and asking people. There was this guy that we knew from the US that had a welder with him that wasn't too far. So he was able to like come to us and
Wow.
we did like a beachside off a dirt road in the middle of nowhere repair, like just enough to where we could drive it to an actual place.
Okay.
So
Wow.
we got very lucky, but it took like 3 or 4 days and all these resources because then you have to we had to realign the suspension and we're not in like even ground and it was a lot of like improvising and that's a lot of the lows in this lifestyle. They're unexpected.
Right.
They come like at you and where you really are not expecting it. You have to be quick when you're thinking about
Yes.
how to solve them and
Improvise.
just be
It's like you're a
open to also
Marine.
the experience. Yeah, exactly. It is a full-time job when it's a low time because you have to figure out all these things, like where are we going to find the help? Like, can we stay here?
Right.
There's all these other factors, like how much water do we have? Like it really becomes like a more extensive process.
Right.
And you just have to be really open and willing to go through it because
Sure.
otherwise it makes it much harder.
I get it.
Yeah.
So they don't have RV AAA in South America, maybe?
They did. I mean, we could have gotten a tow truck if we wanted to, but because the suspension was broken, we
You
wouldn't
can't
have been
tow
able
it.
to get on the tow.
Right.
So that was mostly why we didn't entertain the tow option for that particular scenario. Because we're like,
Wow.
well,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
even an option for
Right.
us. So,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
we really have to try to repair
Holy
this
cow.
like right here, right now, like
Right,
right
I
here
get it.
enough to at least get out and get
Yeah.
somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That happened to me once when I was driving one of my dad's old trucks. You know, the drive shaft fell off the back axle
Oh God.
in the middle of an intersection. I lost all power. And I heard like bang, clank, 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 clank. Thankfully, I was in Upper Peninsula, Michigan. So these are relatively common instances.
Yeah.
But I was like a high schooler. I think I was like 17, So I had no
It's
clue.
never fun when you hear a clank clank.
No, and like in nothing, like no power, like just
No
revving,
power. Yeah.
And thankfully I was on like an incline, I was like rolling already,
Uh-huh.
and I was by like a buddy's house. I was like, it was my hometown, so it was like
Yeah.
there was a buddy's house everywhere.
That makes it easier.
Yes, so I just pulled over, and I walked home, and I called my dad. And because my dad was out of town and he was like, well, I think you need to call the cops and tell them that it's on the side of the road disabled. But other than that, just wait until I get home. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, you have to call the cops?
I would have not thought about that. So that's a good point.
Yeah. Well, otherwise they might like tag it and tow
Yeah,
it.
like tow it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that
Wow.
makes sense.
So you survived a 4-day
We did.
ordeal of broken suspension.
Yeah, that
So-
was like I think our biggest like breakdown. We've
Right.
had all sorts of smaller ones, tires exploding, driving down highways, lug nuts exploding.
Wow.
We've had a lot of other stuff, but I think that one was like the most scary just because it was like, a big problem and
Right.
a lot of moving parts and
Yeah.
not just stuff.
Yeah, those
that
little
was the
things
big one.
is not so bad. It's like anything tire or wheel related. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's very
Right.
like you could even just if you have a spare,
Yeah.
it's just like scary at that time, but then
Totally.
it's like easy to kind of solve.
Yeah.
But yeah, the suspension I think was our biggest like breakdown.
My
So
my
that was
favorite stupid thing I did when I was young is I had a Dodge Daytona when I was in Hawaii in the Air Force,
Mhm.
and my temperature light went off when I was driving to work, right?
okay.
And it was already overheating driving to work. And I
Mm.
was like, well, I don't know what to do. I guess I'll go to work and figure it out after work,
Yeah.
right? So I go to work and I call the dealer and he says, well, you're overheating. Let it cool off and then put water in it when it's cooled off and then see if you can make it to the shop.
hmm
You know, and he didn't ask where I was, right? It was like a long drive.
Yeah.
So I did that and I got to the dealer and then he called me like the next day and he's like, yeah, you melted your block. And I was like, I didn't know I had a block. What block?
Oh, temperature gauges like when we had cars or I had a car, I never really paid attention to those, and now they're
Right.
like we're always like eyes on the
Yes,
temperature.
yes, that was like learning thing because I
Yeah.
needed to get a new engine, right?
Yeah.
Thankfully, these guys took pity on me and put it on my maintenance. So
Mm-hmm.
like the $8,000 new engine rebuild, whatever they call it, was like
Yeah.
covered, and I
Yeah.
only had to pay like $800,
Oh,
which
that's nice.
seemed relatively cheap.
Yeah,
Right.
for a new engine, I'll take that.
Right? But
Yeah.
you're right. Since then every time I see the temperature light on, pull over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pull
Don't
over.
keep driving on
Don't
that.
keep driving. No, pull over, turn off the engine immediately. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even when I start when it starts even thinking, I'm like, hey, let's pull over. Like it's
Right.
just
Yes.
thinking about it.
It's
Like,
moving a little. Pull
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, we're very paranoid about it.
I get it. So let's
But-
talk about you've been to all the national parks. I've been to most of them now because they're free for me. So I've been trying to tick them off as well.
Fun.
So let's talk about some of your favorite places that you got to stay and see. Seeing whales on the beach. That sounds awesome. But what else did
that's
you see?
awesome.
Yeah, some of the
I mean,
highlights.
national parks are incredible, right? They are national parks for a reason. They have this incredible views or this incredible surrounding. So I love national parks and we do them anytime we're around them. But
Right.
to be honest, our favorite has become doing the camping outside of national parks. So
Okay.
most national parks are surrounded by national forests or public lands. And
Totally.
you can camp those in those areas mostly for free and do
Right.
dry camping. And
Yes.
that's where we've had the most incredible experiences when it comes to national parks, just because
Okay.
you're in the same area. So you sometimes even can get a little bit of the view of the national park, but you're not in the park itself with the
Right.
crowds and everything else. So that's our favorite, to just kind of be around it, but not quite in it.
Gotcha.
But
I like that. That's a good philosophy.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's a good way to do them if you're not into the crowds or you want to just experience it, but not be in the, now, especially as national parks become a little bit more popular. Now there's all these regulations on fees and,
Right.
permits on what time you can go into the park
Yeah,
or
and it
what
can get
hikes you can do
expensive
and
to
stuff
park.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good alternative
Yeah.
for that kind of stuff. But
Gotcha.
we've had some incredible experiences. Glacier is one of our favorite national parks and areas in the entire country.
Wow.
Just so breathtaking and beautiful.
So
And
that in Alaska?
that is in Montana. So
Montana,
northern,
okay.
northern Montana, right in the border pretty much with Canada.
Wow. So
But
talk
Glacier
about
is
it.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, Glacier is absolutely beautiful. There's the very popular Going on the Sun road. So it's this road that was built, I don't even remember, in the 50s, I think, or something.
Okay.
But it's stunning. It's a stunning drive, probably one of the most beautiful drives in all of the US.
Right.
You're just driving and right across there's just all these glaciers and mountains, and
Whoa.
it's
Yeah,
it's just and it feels like you're in a movie. That's one of the national parks that, to me, no matter how many times we visit, I'm just still
You're seeing something new.
how is
and
this
you're just
real? It's incredible.
Are you seeing mountains or actual ice Icy
So there's
snow.
there are mountains, and then a lot of them have glaciers in them. There's like popular hikes, like Avalanche Lake is a really beautiful hike. It's
Okay.
just like 3 miles, and when you finish the hike, you end up in like a lake with a mountain behind it that has waterfalls coming out of it. It really just feels like
Wow.
you're
Yeah,
inside
yeah,
of a
yeah.
movie set. So
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really incredible. And then the wildlife is incredible over there too.
Now I'm
Mountain
putting that
goats,
on my list.
grizzly bears, black bears, moose,
And this
just
is all
all the
in the
really cool ones.
summertime, right? This
Yeah,
is
the
so
summer is
you
the best time to visit Glacier,
right.
I would say. Going to the Sun Road is open. That road is open only seasonally. But then you can do all the cool hikes and stuff. And then if you do early summer, like kind of more like late spring, the
Yeah.
wildflower bloom is happening. So it's beautiful because there's all these glaciers and all
Yeah.
this stuff. But then
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
also these like pink flowers everywhere. And
It's awesome.
it's definitely like one of the parks that we just keep going back to because it's
Yeah.
just one of our
And
favorites
now,
for
see
sure.
now, you let's talk a little bit about like so I live in Vegas, right?
Hmm.
My wife likes to travel,
Hmm.
not camp. All right. So
Yeah.
that's okay. I've learned
Yeah.
to live with it, right? But
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
thinking about like right now we have a Toyota Prius.
Hmm.
So it's a super like cheap vehicle to drive around
Yeah.
and like, really good on gas. It gets like
Hmm.
close to 60 miles per gallon. It's
Yeah, that's
amazing.
incredible.
Yeah, I know. But like, so then we could go like, hotel to hotel or,
Yeah.
whatever. Right. But
Yeah.
I think I've almost got her convinced that if we could get like some sort of SUV that's a hybrid or maybe like a minivan that's a hybrid. My first thought was there are people out there RVing in air quotes in a Prius. They actually
Yeah.
set up their Prius where they can like sleep in it.
Yeah.
And I tried and I don't want to do that.
It's very tight core. Yeah, the car camping world has really,
No,
popularized, but it's
yeah,
very
there's
tight.
a lot of
Yeah.
bloggers and people out there doing it.
Yeah.
And bless them. I just don't want to.
I feel you. I need a little bit more space.
if I were only sleeping,
Yeah.
I could get away with it, right? All
Yeah.
you do is just lay out the mat and then figure out some way to like dark out the windows and crack them a little bit and not let the bugs in. I could probably work that out. It's not that. It's the car is just not comfortable as a warm living room. Like if you want to like read before you go to bed,
Yeah.
it's not comfortable to do in a car.
No, not at all. You can barely probably like sit in there. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
a very different.
But an RV, or not an RV, but like an SUV or a minivan is way more comfortable. So
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit more
So
space.
when my wife gets done working finally, then I'm thinking about one of those two things. It's just what she'll be willing to drive.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like Toyota Sienna has, I drove one of those before when I was in the Air Force a lot. They drive like a car. Right. So I think I might be able to sell her one of those, but we'd have to rent one first.
Yeah. Experience it first.
What we want to do is get out of Vegas when it's hot.
Yeah.
So,
Makes sense.
So I'm thinking about Montana Glacier National Park,
Yes.
definitely on the list. So where else do you go in the summer to escape heat?
Yeah, so we spend mostly of our summers, like I said, like Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Washington. So really just try to get us north as we
north
can.
as you can, right? Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So Idaho's beautiful too. I think it's like a hidden gem. I don't think a lot of people explore
Right.
Idaho, maybe
Yeah.
because it doesn't have like they don't have like specific big national parks like Glacier or like North Cascades in Washington. So that's a great area though. Very beautiful mountains. The Sawtooth mountain range is absolutely beautiful and
Wow.
lots of camping around there. Lots of cool like alpine lakes and waterfalls and stuff like that too. So we really like that area as well.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, put that on the list. The whole northern tier.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, you could do just a little loop around there, hit all of them, like Wyoming, go up Wyoming, then do Idaho into Washington, and then go over through Montana.
Have you ever done any Canada or Alaska yet?
We have not done Canada and Alaska yet. That's hopefully next summer. So that's our big project for next summer, or our big road trip for next summer.
Vancouver's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I hear. In British Columbia, we have a lot of spots around there that we really want to go check out.
You don't even need a car in Vancouver.
Yeah, that's so cool.
that's one of the things, like when we go to like places like Japan or Vancouver or Portland, I like just parking the car and using public transportation.
Oh yeah,
Like
absolutely.
Vancouver is great. You can get
Yeah.
like a day pass for like $5 Canadian at 7-Eleven, and you can go everywhere.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love cities like that. Yeah, we enjoy that. We enjoy when we could just be in the outskirts and then just kind of get inside and
Yeah.
walk around and
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
We
Yeah,
can
I love that.
we did this where we stopped in some city in like right on the border of Canada. I want to say it was in Washington State, but I don't remember where. But then we took an Amtrak from there to Vancouver. That was amazing.
That's awesome.
Until the train broke down on us once, but
Oh God.
it turned out okay.
Yeah, that's cool. Never a dull moment when you're traveling. That's what
Right.
I've learned.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. So
That's
okay. That's awesome. So what else have you let's see, what was your favorite spot, say like in the sunny parts of the world? Like
Like in the southern area.
Yeah. Southern area.
Yeah, we love like southern Phoenix, Tucson area. So just
Me
camping
too.
on the
Yeah.
saguaros. It's just so pretty down there. And
Tucson's great.
you know,
Phoenix is great.
yeah, Tucson is beautiful.
We just went to
the
Tucson
desert is beautiful.
for Thanksgiving. I've got a buddy that lives in Tucson.
That's cool.
And
Yeah,
it's
we
so
love that
much
area.
nicer than Vegas in the winter.
It is a little warmer down there. It's
Yeah.
usually actually very nice in the winter. And
Yeah.
we usually try to stay a little bit into spring so we can also see the blooms in the
Oh, yeah.
saguaros. So that's
Right.
really pretty time to be down there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we love that area. It's just the cactus and the desert. It's just such a
Gorgeous.
different landscape, and
Yeah.
we
It takes
really
a while to
enjoy
see
that.
the beauty. Like
Yeah, it does. We
Yeah.
actually call like the desert like our second level. Like it takes like a second level traveler to
Yes.
appreciate a place like
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
we had family visit us in Joshua Tree, and they were kind of like confused as to why we were so excited about it. They were like,
Right.
"It's just nothing," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Exactly, like it's
Rocks,
beautiful."
rocks and
I
dirt.
was like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it takes a little bit more of like if you've been outdoors, you can kind
Yeah.
of appreciate it, but it's beautiful.
I
Yeah.
don't know what like Bolivia is like, like what environment wise, but
Mm-hmm.
like Michigan in the Midwest, when you think of outdoor beauty, you think of like forest,
Yeah.
right? So when you come from
Exactly.
there and you look at the desert, you go, well, there's nothing here. It's just
Exactly.
dirt and
That's a great
rocks.
connection. Yeah, and they're just like, what is this? Like, this is boring. There's not, and I think that's the fun thing about like Phoenix or like southern Phoenix, like areas. Like, no, the saguaros are beautiful. You know, they're more like this bigger thing to
Yeah.
look at, and they're just really cool shapes and stuff. So they're more exciting.
I think like what I've learned is like when you go and look at like naked desert around Las Vegas, is you start to see that it is a forest like environment. It's just
Yeah.
the vegetation is just a lot smaller.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah.
You just have to look
Absolutely.
a little harder.
I know. I mean, yeah, there's like ecosystems living in these deserts.
Yeah.
They're just not like these big, you know, animals and stuff like that. So it
Yeah.
definitely takes a little bit more of like that intentionality to find it. But they're
My
beautiful.
backyard is amazing. I got so blessed because so like there's like 4, maybe 5 units in my like, you know, what do you call it? Like subdivision of suburbia here in Vegas. And so I think the developer had to like pay to make a park, like a city park, right? And then like 4 units kind of like are edged up against that park. So like my backyard is this big pile of rocks
That's
is
awesome.
going up a slope. And then there's this gigantic rock wall, right? And then a cinder block wall and then a neighbor, right?
Okay.
But I got like 5 trees in this whole ecosystem, and I don't have to do much of anything to it. As long as the irrigation system stays working, I don't have to do much of anything. Like
That's
I
awesome.
have to trim the trees like once a year.
Yeah.
But I get to see like birds, and I get to see like lizards.
Yeah, that's cool. It's like a little ecosystem. That's
It's
fun.
amazing. It's great. Yes, it's fun thing to do with drinking coffee and eating yogurt in the morning.
Yeah, in the morning. Yeah, it's the best time to be outside, just looking around.
Right.
Yeah.
So how is
true.
it that how is working for you like on the road?
Yeah, so work, when we got on the road, I was doing a lot of freelance work,
Right.
just because, like, this lifestyle is always changing, and I was kind of concerned of going towards the 9 to 5 or like a more like traditional remote job, just because we're always like having to move or things are happening. Maybe my internet's not working, and it
You
felt
need
like
flexibility.
exactly. So I did try like a job for a while that was like a strict 9 to 5, and it was like a nightmare. I was like, this is just not working. It's not
Right.
my work environment. So when I found RVshare and started working with RVshare, it was just it's such a great match for me. They're trying to get people to experience what I do. So they're very encouraging and supportive of my lifestyle. They understand. And so I have that flexible work environment, which is great. But also something we did when we did the second build is make sure I had like an actual workspace. So obviously our space is small, but if you don't have like a designated workspace, it becomes so much more taxing to have to work, and you're
Yeah.
moving around and you're
Right.
uncomfortable.
Right.
So just making sure that I had those spaces, like I have a standing desk area and I have a sitting down, and then the fact that we have really good internet, like we've had to make these adjustments to make sure it's like sustainable long term. But once we
Right.
kind of figured those things out, it's been a joy, honestly. I
Yeah.
enjoy it so much, and I get to, my lunch break is going around walking in like beautiful spaces. So it's a great combo of both a career and then also this freedom of travel.
So about how much time do you end up working, say, like in a given day or week?
So I'm full time with RVshare, so I
Oh,
do
wow.
do like it's technically a 9 to 5, but it's a little bit more flexible. I don't have to like clock in at night and clock in at 5.
Oh,
So
okay.
depends on our day. I can like spread out my work, and like maybe sometimes I work a little earlier, like right now with the sun going down earlier, just to kind of keep our batteries happy. I usually clock in a little or start working a little bit earlier and then end the day sooner so that I'm not running, all of the satellite internet and everything in the dark
Right.
for too long. So just to
Gotcha.
be smart, like we got to think about stuff like that when
Yeah.
you're living off grid. So yeah, I
Wow.
get to kind of move around my schedule. So it's pretty cool in that
Oh,
way.
wow. Okay. So basically like a full time, but like you work when you can kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
You
Yeah, and
just
then I
get your
just have
hours
meetings
in.
that I factor in and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a good combo of both worlds.
I like it.
Yeah.
Good gig for you.
I feel very lucky, and it's just such a great match because it's like I'm so passionate about this lifestyle, and we've been doing it for 4 years, and it just feels like a really cool and organic combination of stuff. Like I get to work for a company that is trying to get people to do things I'm really passionate about, so
Yeah.
it's really fun.
It's a good fit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
do you like let out your house every once in a while on RV shared? Has that happened yet?
No, we haven't done the renting like ourselves just because we live full time in it, so
Yeah.
we
It's
don't
kind of
have any other
right.
home base. But
Unless
we
you
would
want to.
love to down the road. Whenever we settle down, we always want to have like some sort of like RV or vehicle. So
Sure.
that would be a great way to make some side income to
Yeah.
just be able to rent it when we're not using it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely in the cards for us in the future.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about like some of the other places. I think on your blog, I think you said you went to Arches
Yeah.
in Moab.
Hmm.
Talk about a remote spot, Moab.
Yeah, Moab is a cool place. I mean, the
Yeah.
city of Moab is growing exponentially. It's become
Yeah.
really big. So that's a cool spot. But yeah, all the areas from like around arches that go outside is very remote desert, and we've done
Yeah.
some really cool tracks. So done like over 50 plus miles in dirt roads just to go
Wow.
camp somewhere. And
Holy cow.
there's really cool routes down there, and you end up camping in these like
So
very
you must
beautiful
have
red
like
rock canyons.
your RV must be like 4-wheel drive.
So we don't have 4-wheel drive, but we do have like military tires.
Okay.
So
You're all
we,
terrain anyway.
yeah, so we can, put down our air to PSI like 5 if we want to. So we can
Right.
do sand, we can do really anything, and we have
Wow.
an onboard compressor and everything. And we
Wow.
do have like a ton of recovery gear with us if that needed to happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're really equipped to do a little bit more of the hard
Off-roady.
or overlander
Yeah.
side
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
RVing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
did the some search and rescue stuff out here
Oh, cool. Okay.
in Vegas. So
Hmm.
I only bring that up because one of the rescues was out in the middle of the desert, like
Hmm.
probably like maybe like a 30-minute trail ride, but it was
Okay.
really, really rough trail. So you
Yeah.
needed a trail vehicle, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly why we picked this vehicle. It
Yeah.
was a search and rescue, so it was
Oh,
already
wow.
kind of like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
geared for that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we just geared it up a little bit more, and it's been so good to us. So yeah, we've been able to do some really cool tracks.
I don't remember which vehicle it was, but one of the like authorities that came out for the search, they were in like a minivan, and they just decided to drive out there.
Yeah.
You know, we were more than happy to drive them out there in our vehicle, right? Because that's kind of like what we were doing.
Yeah.
But they got like 100 yards in and blew 2 tires.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a joke. Yeah. It's like crazy how the terrain out like in remote areas can change very quickly. We were just in Dead Valley, and we were doing a track there. And yeah, I mean, the national park ranger was like, oh, be careful because the rocks are really sharp. And so we're always having to like help people because they shred their tires, and we can, take a lot of our air out, so our tires are not like very hard when we're doing kind of this stuff. So we were driving it up and down, no problem. But then anytime there was another car driving, we could see, we're like, okay, that goes your tire. Like, that's not a good idea for you. So yeah,
you got to be
being
ready.
smart is very important when dealing with off-road things.
Yeah. I mean, like one thing I learned about the Prius is I got a 2021 Prius. Be careful. They're really low. They're like low riders. I mean, they're low for like just street driving.
Yeah.
Right? But if you try to even go on a gravel road, be careful.
Yeah, that's a good advice.
Yeah.
Clearance is so important. Like the bus we had, our clearance was pretty much none. We had a stair that went down pretty much. So we were scraping that, like you're saying, in cities, like going into gas stations, and we're just scratching the entire stair. So clearance became a very important part of our search when we were looking for a second vehicle.
Yeah. There's a whole business somewhere up in Northern California called Prius Off-Road or something like that.
Oh, that like bump to lift them?
Yeah. It's basically a custom lift kit for just a Prius that they made,
I think we've seen some small carts down some roads that we've been like, I don't think it's a good idea for you to be down here, but like, more power to you, I guess.
Yeah.
As long as you make it out, that's a cool story.
I thought about it. I was like, it would just be smarter to buy a better vehicle.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Still a hybrid, but slightly better. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So talk a little bit about how folks can get in touch with, let me see if I can say this one again, Fiorella Yriberry.
Yeah, you got it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they can find me in any social channels. So TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, at Growing Slow and Wild.
Right.
And if you're curious about renting an RV or want to try this lifestyle, you can find RVshare at RVshare.com. And we're also on all socials. So feel free to check us out.
That was awesome. This is awesome. You're having fun.
Yeah.
I really liked Arches, by the way. Oh, one more thing. Have you ever been to Capitol Reef?
Yeah, we just drove through Capitol Reef, like that area of Utah. And,
I loved Capitol Reef.
So cool.
Don't go in the winter, but yes. We were dumb because we moved from California to Vegas, and our first year we're like, let's go everywhere. And I think it was like January or February we went to Capitol Reef and we got stuck in the snowstorm. I was like,
yeah, that would be scary.
Not a good idea.
No, and that area of Utah is pretty remote. There's Hanksville, that's a little bit of a city, but not a city, a town. But that's a really cool area. There's a lot of really cool stuff around there, but very remote. Yeah.
I liked the Capitol Reef because you get to actually drive your car into the Box Canyon. Yeah. That was amazing.
That's a cool park.
Yeah. Most of them are like, you're just kind of looking at it. You're not in it. You're looking at it. But this one, you're in it.
You're in it. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of really cool routes in Capitol Reef. So you could also do Bentonite Hills. I don't know if you did that when you were there.
No.
That's a really cool area, too, of the park. Okay. And it's just these hills that have like 4 color like ways that they're more like pink and red and white. And they're just really cool colored. And you could go drive around them. And it's a really cool area.
That's awesome. I could talk to you forever just because we could share notes about where we've been.
That's my favorite kind of talk, so I could do it too.
Well, you have a good one. Thanks for hanging out with me for about an
hour. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a blast.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.